Good evening, Princeton, and welcome to Talk to Me. I'm Esther Mills. Talk to Me is a show that focuses on people as well as important issues in our community. With election season well on its way, we have invited State Senator Shirley Turner as well as her opponent, Bob Martin. Unfortunately, Senator Turner wasn't able to make it tonight due to a scheduling conflict. So welcome, Bob, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate it very much.
So Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your background and why you decided to run for State Senate.
My wife and I, Brenda, live in Hopewell Township. We've lived there for 12 years. We've got 3 wonderful kids, 2 of them are in college, one's in 4th grade, so we've got quite a busy house most of the time. Basically, I've been involved in community activities for quite a while. I'm very active with the Salvation Army on the board of Chapin School. I've been involved with sports and activities, coaching soccer and lacrosse for the last 10 years, so very involved in the community front. I'm also on the Financial Advisory Committee for Hopewell Township, so again, involved in the community, understand what's going on. I decided to run primarily because I was concerned that a lot of critical issues in this state were not being addressed. Critical issues like property tax reform, like gang violence, fiscal responsibility, education, those issues were not being addressed by our state legislator and our leaders in Trenton. I wanted to go fix those. Okay, so
you are running in the 15th district.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what is special about the 15th district?
Well, the 15th district, as you know, includes Princeton Borough, Princeton Township, Hopewell Valley, Lawrence Township, Ewing, and Trenton. It's got a lot of wonderful people. It's got a very diverse audience and diverse voter population. But I've knocked on about 5,000 doors. I've knocked on doors in every single one of those towns so far, and people have been absolutely wonderful. So I've got a chance to meet quite a few people, and it's just uniqueness. And each town's got a unique group of people, and I've learned a lot, and by walking around and meeting people.
Well, tell us what the focus of your campaign is, and tell us a little bit about the responses you've gotten from people knocking on the doors and how they're welcoming your ideas or maybe not.
Right.
So.
As I mentioned, critical issues in this campaign that I'm focusing on primarily, again, are property tax, gang violence, fiscal responsibility, corruption, and education. So those are the critical issues that I'm keep going after and keep talking about during this campaign. It's kind of neat when I go door to door. When I first started going and campaigning, I wasn't sure that what people's response would be from people when I went door to door. I figured I'd get a lot of doors slammed in my face, and I think I've only had 2 doors slammed in my face since I've started running.
5,000 doors?
Out of 5,000 doors, pretty good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find, what's neat is that most people, I think first they're surprised that I'm not selling them something when I come to the door, and then they're surprised that a politician took the time, came to their door, asked them what was going on and what they thought about it, and shared some ideas back and forth. And most of those people that come to the door usually come out on their porch and stand there and talk to me for quite a while. So it's kind of neat. The people really are into it when you go to the door and you ask them, and it's a nice surprise.
So it sounds like people are concerned, very concerned about what is going on state-wise in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your ideas for tax reform.
Mm-hmm. Property tax reform, as you know, it's just hurting so many families. And let me tell you a quick story on that. I mean, when I go to doors and talk to people, the people that are being hurt the most, clearly when they come to the doors, are young families, and they're talking about it. They can't afford to stay in their homes because of property taxes, and mostly seniors. When I go talk to senior citizens, most of those that are on fixed income, and they keep seeing their property tax bills go up year after year after year with no relief whatsoever. And honestly, I think that a lot of the seniors have gone past being angry. They've gone to a point now, I think, of being very, very sad about living in their homes in New Jersey. They feel like they have to leave. They have to leave the state. They can't stay here in their retirement years with their families, their grandchildren, all the rest of that. They have to leave the state. They're talking about leaving, going to Pennsylvania or Delaware or North Carolina or Florida because it's a cheaper place to live. The property taxes aren't as high there. Last year, 72,000 people left the state, and all the data indicates it was for economic reasons that they left the state. And a good piece of the economics of this state, when living in this state, are property taxes. So I think that's a critical thing that has to be addressed.
What is the comparison of property taxes, say in the state of New Jersey versus another state? Because I've recently spoken to a lady who lived in the state of Massachusetts, and she said that the nickname was Taxachusetts. So what percentage or how much more are people paying in the state of New Jersey than maybe the average across the country? Right.
Well, the best way to look at it is in most states, most other states, the state picks up pretty much the 60 to 70% of the education bill, of the local education bill in each of the towns. In New Jersey, on average, 70% of that bill is being picked up, at least 70%. In the towns like Princeton, pretty much 100% of it's being picked up by the local property tax bill. So that's the best way to look at it. It's a different model in most other states where the state government is picking up the education bill, unlike our local governments here in this state. And so that's why we need, and that's why my plan to go fix it, I think we got to start number one with going and getting a constitutional amendment to change the constitution of this state. So we start looking at how the revenues of this state are structured and have to restructure those revenues, have to look at how we constrain the costs in this state to be able to manage the costs of that. And that's a big piece of it. We're not managing the budget of this state very well. We also have a school funding model that needs to be restructured also. We have a lot of Abbott districts. The Abbott districts are the poorest districts in the state. I think there's 31 of them. And those districts, we need to be funding those. We have to be, because those are our poorest districts. We need to make sure we provide education in those districts. The problem is that we need to see how those funds are being spent, how they're being managed, what's the transparency on those funds, and how the monies are being used. We spend a lot of money, just down the road in Trenton, and we need to be spending money in Trenton to help the schools. But last year, Trenton school districts failed their report card in all the areas that they're supposed to be, that the state looks at. So the state report card basically failed them in every single area, including academics. Academics, they scored a 22% out of 100, which is just
wow.
Unbelievable.
Very low.
Yeah, and so we need to be looking at the funding formula on that too, and that makes a difference.
Okay, so you're talking about fiscal accountability.
Exactly.
Is what you're talking about, plus restructuring and putting caps on spending.